A major ruling against both P. Diddy and JayZ, as a judge rules a rape accuser can remain anonymous, at least for now. And the judge gets spicy in her ruling too, calling out JayZ's attorney for filing what she says is a litany of motions.
From the moment the courtroom doors opened, the atmosphere carried a weight that went beyond routine proceedings. Every seat was filled with latecomers lining the walls, eager to witness a pivotal moment. Conversations were hushed, eyes fixed forward, as if everyone instinctively knew they were about to see a turning point in a story long in the making.
Recently made its way into a filing. JayZ, Sean Carter, Beyonce's husband, whatever you know him as, is now accused of raping a 13-year-old girl at one of P. Diddy's parties. We reported on this specific lawsuit back when it was filed in October, but here's a quick refresher. The woman who filed this civil suit is listed only as Jane Doe. She hasn't revealed her true identity and doesn't have to, at least for now, but more on that later. Now, Jane Doe says she met Diddy's limo driver outside the MTV Video Music Awards in September 2000. He told her, quote, Combs liked younger girls and said she'll fit what Diddy was looking for, not allowing her into the awards but inviting her to an after party. Later that night, the driver brought her to a large white house that was behind a gated fence, and inside she saw multiple celebrities she recognized, and of course, P. Diddy. According to her suit, once inside, two men asked plaintiff, that's Jane Doe, to sign a non-disclosure agreement, informing her that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave them her name and signed the form, but did not receive a copy. Eventually, Jane Doe accepted a drink at this party. She says it was a reddish-yellow mixture and tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something else bitter mixed in. Jane Doe now believes Diddy or one of his associates slipped something into her drink. After all of this, Jane Doe had some of the drink. She says she started feeling woozy and wanted to lie down. So she went into what she thought was an empty room but did not lock the door. The next part is a direct quote from Jane Doe's lawsuit, and it's pretty disturbing. Quote, Celeb A was a man and Celeb B was a woman. There had been rumblings that Celebrity B is actually Jennifer Lopez, who was Diddy's girlfriend at the time, but that has not been confirmed. What has been confirmed though, at least according to Jane Doe, is that Celebrity A is JayZ. In December, Jane Doe amended her lawsuit to publicly name JayZ, alleging he raped her that night. And again, reminder, she's only 13 at the time. JayZ completely denies these allegations. He's made a motion earlier this month even for Jane Doe to reveal her identity. And that's not the first time we've seen this tactic, and the last time it actually worked. We reported on this too. The original Jane Doe, who filed civil suit against Diddy in late 2023, the one who included pictures in her lawsuit, was just recently ordered to reveal her name publicly. And that's when we learned that Jane Doe is actually Anna Kane. She's known mostly as the ex-wife of hockey player Evander Kane. So following this same pattern, JayZ's team filed a motion demanding Jane Doe make her name public. Here's what his team wrote. Admissions by the plaintiff, meaning Jane Doe, and damning admissions by her own father in a December 13 revelatory NBC interview cast yet further doubt on a claim that was obviously false from the start. The timeline, location, and occurrence of events alleged in plaintiff's complaint are rendered impossible by these admissions. She claims her father picked her up after the assault, and this next part they mean to write, he took a 5-hour trip. She claims she spoke with musician Benji Madden that night. He was not even in New York. She claims the assault took place at an after-party hosted in a private residence. Photos show Mr. Carter at an after-party at a nightclub. When pressed by NBC, plaintiff was forced to admit, I've made some mistakes. I may have made a mistake in identifying. Not all faces there are as clear, and even that she was guessing about key details, including the time it took to reach the venue. What is more, she admits she does not have a single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. In this motion, JayZ's team calls for an immediate preservation order, suggesting that Tony Busby, Jane Doe's attorney, could—
Every credentialed journalist was packed into the room. Laptops open, cameras poised, fingers ready to capture every detail of a moment that could send headlines rippling across the globe in seconds. Diddy entered with the polished image he had perfected over decades. A sharp suit, carefully chosen tie, polished shoes, exuding the aura of a man in control. Yet, a closer look revealed subtle cracks. His eyes flickered too quickly from face to face, his lips pressed into a tighter line than usual, His walk to the defense table just a touch slower than the stride people remembered. Taking his seat, he adjusted his jacket with deliberate care, as if buying a few extra moments before the storm hit. When the judge entered, formalities passed swiftly, the gravity in the room thickening. Then, without flourish, the prosecution stepped forward, binder in one hand, a flash drive in the other, the weight of their preparation evident. No theatrics were needed. Their presence alone signaled the depth of what was about to be revealed. It was the kind of stillness before a reckoning, where even the faintest sound seemed amplified, and every person in the room understood they were standing at the edge of a moment that would be remembered far beyond those walls.
This is where he's currently being housed as he waits trial in May on criminal charges. And he left to get an MRI at a nearby hospital. So the New York Post reports that the 55-year-old rapper was moved to Brooklyn Hospital Thursday night for the scan. And according to a source, the MRI was for apparent knee pain. Combs has reportedly dealt with knee problems since running the New York Marathon back in the early 2000s. Combs, by the way, used that race to raise millions of dollars for New York City children. And the source told the New York Post that Combs was moved at night to try to keep the exam as low-key as possible. But clearly it became public, and Combs reportedly didn't stay overnight, went back to the cell once the exam was over. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, told TMZ, "I cannot comment on anything related to prisoner movements. Also, I'm not commenting on anything related to possible medical issues." As he shouldn't, that is private information. The only way it really would come up during the course of the criminal case is if you say it somehow relates to his detention or somehow relates to his movements or any certain accommodation should be made, sentencing if he's ultimately convicted, but right now we won't know more information. In the meantime, let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape, this guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as JayZ, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial inaccuracies and that there was a failure to properly investigate before filing. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically, a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000. She says she was just 13 years old when this happened. And weeks after the initial filing, Busby submitted an amended complaint naming JayZ as the celebrity who allegedly participated in this assault. Both rappers have adamantly denied the allegations, JayZ on the offensive, arguing that Jane Doe's story is full of holes, that all of this should have been obvious to any competent attorney who was going to take her case. And this isn't the first time that JayZ has gone after Tony Busby. In fact, earlier this month, the rapper filed a motion seeking dismissal and sanctions, accusing Busby of failing to properly vet the accuser's claims. And now JayZ is doubling down, saying, in fact, that Busby never even met Jane Doe before filing the lawsuit. That is a stunning allegation. So let's dig into the latest filing, because it reads, quote, "A principled attorney, when confronted with factual inconsistencies that cast grave doubt on horrific allegations and reveal the inadequacy of any pre-filing inquiry, would reconsider the lawsuit. Instead, plaintiff's lead attorney, Anthony Busby, tried to gloss over them. Initially, he deflected, saying plaintiff's case was referred to his firm by another who vetted it prior to sending it to him, and that his firm would continue to vet her claims and collect corroborating data. Now, he can see..."
There was no grand theatrical pause, just a measured statement that shifted the entire mood of the room. What was about to be presented could change the scope of the case and reshape public perception of two of the most prominent figures in the music industry. The prosecutor explained that new verifiable evidence had emerged, connecting Diddy and JayZ in ways the court had not yet heard, supported by official records, documents, and communications. The gallery seemed to collectively hold its breath, fully aware that invoking another industry giant in this high-profile trial would ignite intense attention. The prosecution unfolded a timeline stretching back years, presented methodically, starting with smaller, seemingly isolated events, and steadily revealing a broader, unmistakable pattern. Exhibits included professional emails suggesting coordinated responses to challenges, as well as text messages written in guarded, coded language, indicating sensitive matters intended to remain private. These were framed not as casual exchanges, but as strategic communications aimed at managing reputational and legal risk. Step by step, the prosecution layered these details until the implications became hard to dismiss. The silence in the courtroom grew heavier with each exhibit, every person present sensing they were witnessing a turning point, one that could alter the trajectory not just of the case, but of the entire industry conversation.
In the complaint in this case are gravely serious and injurious to Mr. Carter's hard-won reputation. Many of them, on their face, strain the outer bounds of credulity, and none of them appear to have been subjected to even the most rudimentary diligence by the filing attorney who initially signed his name to them and has since declined to withdraw them. Because the federal rules and professional ethics require more of a filing attorney, Mr. Carter now respectfully seeks appropriate sanctions. And by the way, when we're talking about sanctions under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, we're talking about a way to punish attorneys for really bad conduct. Usually it's a monetary punishment. It's rare. You don't see this all the time. You have to be talking about really egregious bad behavior. Rule 11, it's about making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely to harass someone, that you're asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts, the law, the evidence. The bottom line here is that Rule 11 requires attorneys to conduct reasonable inquiries into the facts and into the law before they file. Makes sense, right? Well, Alex Spiro, JayZ's attorney, claims that Tony Buzbee violated Rule 11 by, quote, either knowingly making false allegations about Mr. Carter in the amended complaint, failing to conduct an adequate investigation into the complaint's factual allegations, or at a minimum, failing to withdraw the complaint once it became clear that numerous allegations in the complaint are false and the other allegations are therefore at least highly suspect. So what do they mean by these allegations are false? Well, here is where it gets a little tricky for Jane Doe, because NBC News actually interviewed her and they looked into this case. They looked into her claims. And here's what the filing says. NBC News journalists determined that a number of allegations were either false or highly doubtful. For example, paragraph 44 of the complaint claims that the party, again, this is the party where she claims she was assaulted, the party occurred at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that was approximately 20 minutes from the VMAs by car. But photographs show that after the VMAs, Mr. Carter attended a party at Lotus, a nightclub in New York. And by the way, there is a photo included here provided by Alex Spiro of JayZ at what appears to be a party with a lot of people. Later on in the memorandum, he writes, other photographs from that evening also show Mr. Combs with his then girlfriend, the musician and actress Jennifer Lopez, at two different establishments, Lotus and Twirl, neither of which was a large residence with a U-shaped driveway. And there is another photo that is included. This time it's of the pair, Jennifer Lopez, Sean Combs, and there is a caption at the bottom that says that they are at a MTV Video Music Awards after party at Twirl on September 7th, 2000. But that is not the only alleged inconsistency. You see, Jane Doe has claimed in her complaint that she was able to escape this situation and run away to a nearby gas station, call her father to pick her up. Well, the filing says, paragraph 60 states that after the alleged assault, plaintiff's father drove to pick her up. But her father has no recollection of doing so, despite the fact that it would have been a 10-hour drive round trip to retrieve his 13-year-old daughter from a random.
The prosecution described deliberate efforts to manage and suppress potentially damaging information, outlining coordinated actions intended to keep certain matters out of public view. As these details emerged, subtle changes in Diddy's demeanor became visible, initially leaning back with clasped hands as if unfazed, but gradually showing signs of tension. A tightening jaw, restless fingers tapping the table, and a faint twitch at his temple as specific messages were read aloud. The prosecutor focused on a particular past controversy involving another well-known figure, which had quietly faded from public attention. According to the evidence presented, a private meeting between Diddy and JayZ took place in a discreet location just days before that story disappeared. Supporting documents included private flight records, financial transactions aligned with the meeting's timeline, and witness accounts indicating that a resolution had been reached to remove the issue from the spotlight. This moment marked a noticeable shift in the room's energy. Attention sharpened, whispers stilled, and all eyes locked on the defense table. The weight of the evidence, methodically laid out, gave the proceedings an intensity that no one in the gallery could ignore, signaling that this revelation could alter not only the trial's direction but its ultimate impact.
Place there. Inside, it was a big night for Sean Combs' then-girlfriend, Jennifer Lopez, who won the VMA for Best Dance Music Video. The accuser was 13 at the time. She said she didn't have a ticket, so she hung out outside of Radio City Music Hall with limo drivers. One convinced her to go to a house for an after-party. The woman said a lot of celebrities were at this house and that she drank something that made her feel woozy, and she found a bedroom where she laid down. The suit states, soon after, Combs entered the room along with defendant Carter and a female celebrity, Celebrity B. Plaintiff immediately recognized all three celebrities. Combs aggressively approached plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her and said, "You are ready to party." Combs then threw plaintiff toward a wall, causing plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. Plaintiff was held down by Carter as he vaginally raped her, while Combs and Celebrity B watched. After Carter finished, he stepped back toward the wall. Combs then stepped forward and vaginally raped plaintiff while Carter and Celebrity B watched. Combs then knocked plaintiff down and attempted to force plaintiff to perform oral sex on him. She fought back, standing up quickly and punching out at the same time, hitting Combs in the neck. Taken aback, Combs stopped his attempt. Now, JayZ has vehemently denied these allegations, and since the suit was filed, there have been inconsistencies that have emerged in the woman's story, including the fact that she claimed her dad picked her up that night, but he told NBC News he doesn't remember doing that and it would have taken him hours to drive to pick her up. And the woman claims she talked to Benji Madden at the party, but he was on tour in the Midwest at the time. Well, an old friend of JayZ's, who has a complicated past with him, is now coming to his defense. Rapper Beanie Sigel says the woman should have to reveal her name. Right now, a judge is allowing her to remain anonymous. Sigel and JayZ were both artists on Rockefeller Records back in the early aughts. JayZ was a partial owner of that label. The two had a falling out. Then Sigel recorded a diss track about JayZ in 2009, but the two have since smoothed things over. Now Sigel has spoken out about the lawsuit where JayZ is being sued along with Sean Combs by that woman identified right now only as Jane Doe. She claims JayZ and Sean Combs raped her at that VMA party back in 2000. Well, Sigel talked about the claim on the Art of Dialogue YouTube channel recently.
You got people like me that don't believe it. You got other people that believe anything. You got some people that want it to be true. Me, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I gotta say it like I don't want that shit to be true. I don't believe that shit. I can't believe that.
Sigel also says he believes the Jane Doe should have to reveal her name.
Who is this? Who is she? Who is she?
She don't have to reveal her identity.
All right then. There you go right there. How? Listen, let me explain something to you. When I was going to court in the feds, right? Yeah, man, and I'm quite sure Jay feeling this way too. And people should...
Diddy's voice broke through the tension, rising with anger and urgency, prompting the judge to strike the gavel sharply and call for order. His defense team leaned in quickly, speaking in hushed tones, attempting to steady him, but the moment had already altered the atmosphere. This was no longer a one-sided presentation from the prosecution. It was now a live, visible reaction from the defendant himself, betraying the weight of what was being laid out. The prosecutor, unfazed, continued with precision, explaining that the connection between Diddy and JayZ extended far beyond professional collaborations or casual friendship. It was portrayed as a long-standing, calculated network of mutual support, operating quietly over years, where influence, resources, and connections were strategically used not only to advance careers, but also to safeguard reputations when controversies emerged. According to the evidence, this alliance involved stepping in during moments of crisis, redirecting attention, managing resources, and contacting the right individuals to help shape outcomes. The description went beyond music and business, suggesting a deliberate, structured effort to influence narratives and maintain a carefully constructed public image. The materials presented, documents, communications, and records, depicted an organized system, showing two figures adept at navigating and leveraging the mechanisms of power to preserve their standing in industries where influence often meant everything.
He was doing a show in another state that night. The seventh allegation is that the plaintiff was purportedly drugged and found a room to lay down in. The filing says that can't be fact-checked. Plaintiff told no one for 24 years and did not undergo toxicology screening. So the defense says they also can't fact-check that Jane Doe ran from the house to a gas station because, again, the plaintiff told no one for decades and now claims not to know the resident's location, let alone the gas station. So could this be a case that is allowed to proceed forward just on her account? Sure, but that might not be the strongest account. But finally, Jane Doe says that her father picked her up, which would have meant a round-trip drive of several hours, which he told NBC News he doesn't remember. The filing says Mr. Busby dismisses plaintiff's father's denial of picking her up that night, claiming the events occurred 24 years ago, so it's not surprising that he may not recall a specific drive to pick up his daughter. But it strains credulity that a father, impelled to jump into his car in the middle of the night to undertake a minimum 10-hour round-trip drive to pick up his 13-year-old daughter at a random gas station, would forget the entire episode. And his denial was unequivocal. He said anything like this would, quote, definitely stick in my mind. Earlier in this case, when JayZ's attorneys pointed out that photos that show Combs and his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez at nightclubs in New York when this alleged house party was going on, Busby claimed that it was possible for the men to have, done it all. They went to different nightclubs, and then they went to the house party after the VMAs where Jane Doe says she was raped. In this latest filing, the defense provides multiple exhibits that it says refutes that idea. From the filing, quote, plaintiff dismisses photographs showing Mr. Carter at Lotus on the night in question, theorizing that he could have partied at the residence after the nightclub, but that makes the timeline even more far-fetched, as Mr. Combs and Miss Lopez attended two nightclubs, Lotus and Twirl. The FAC requires that plaintiff arrived at the gas station after the alleged assault around 1:30 a.m., 5 hours before dawn, after fleeing the alleged party. And tell you what, the defense even provides a table of sunrise and sunset times from the Astronomical Applications Department of the federal government. It highlights that sunrise on September 8, 2000 was at 5:30 a.m. And the defense also included maps showing the distances from the nightclubs to each other as well as to the Hamptons, that the time frame doesn't make sense. Quote, given that the VMAs ended at 11:11 p.m. in approximately 2 hours, Mr. Combs would have had to driven to two different nightclubs, each at least 14 minutes from Radio City with zero traffic and 6 to 14 minutes from each other, spent time at each club where he was photographed, been driven to the imaginary residence at least 20 minutes from Radio City, waited while his driver returned to Radio City to pick up plaintiff, a round trip of at least 40 minutes, waited more time while plaintiff mingled with celebrities and got intoxicated, and then assaulted plaintiff. Assuming arguendo that the timeline can somehow be wrestled within the laws of physics, it cried out for reality testing. JayZ's defense says these factual discrepancies are neither isolated nor surprising. They result from Mr. Busby's rush to launch allegations unhindered by mandatory diligence. This court should impose Rule 11C sanctions and direct the parties to confer on a schedule for briefing.
The atmosphere in the gallery shifted noticeably, even if courtroom rules kept everyone silent. Shock was etched into faces and journalists' hands moved rapidly over keyboards, capturing a revelation they knew could send tremors through the entertainment world and beyond. Outside, the impact was instant. News alerts flashed across screens, hashtags trended within minutes, and the story spread far beyond entertainment blogs, reaching major outlets and fueling mainstream debate. Inside, the prosecution concluded with a measured but ominous statement. "This is only the beginning." The words lingered in the air, carrying the implication that what had just been revealed was only a fraction of the full picture, and that the rest could be far more damaging, not only for Diddy and JayZ, but for anyone connected to them, whether through business deals, shared confidences, mutual benefits, or efforts to keep certain matters away from public view. Diddy sat motionless after the presentation, his posture tense, his breathing uneven, his gaze fixed firmly on the table in front of him. The composed, controlled presence he had carried into the room was gone, replaced by the visible strain of someone watching the foundation of a carefully maintained public persona begin to crumble in real time. The looming thought of what might still be uncovered, more evidence, more names, more links, hung in the air like a storm cloud. Because once even part of a hidden network is brought into the open, it often takes on momentum of its own, pushed forward by curiosity, scrutiny, and speculation. In that moment, it was clear that whatever happened in court, the unfolding story had already escaped the confines of the case, spilling into the far more unpredictable arena of public perception, where control is nearly impossible to reclaim.
Criminal sexual conduct and kidnapping. Cardelo Smith appeared on a judge's live stream from prison representing himself to explain why he wanted an injunction against, out of all people, Sean Combs.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardelo Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records label owner, founder, also known as Puff P. Daddy, Bad Boy, Diddy Run the City, Sean Combs, also known as Sean Puffy Combs. And this is file number 24-7362NO. I'll grab your paperwork here real quick out of this other paperwork. We do have Mr. Cardelo Smith appearing from the Michigan Department of Corrections. Sir, where are you currently located?
I'm located at the Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility, 2500 South Sheridan Drive, Muskegon, Michigan, 49444, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Or Your Honor.
Thank you. So I do see that we do have a proof of service on Mr. Combs. But for purposes of this hearing, you filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and/or a preliminary injunction to stop all sales of the property and assets attached to or involved with said property based on the interest of plaintiff and plaintiff's connections to defendant's sexual assault of plaintiff Derek Lee Cardelo Smith, requiring a preliminary injunction and/or a temporary restraining order. Do you wish to argue the motion today, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed then.
Okay, the purpose of it is based on two actions taken by Mr. Combs himself, directly with me here. We did a live one-on-one visit in our prison visiting room. There's two meetings within the past 2 weeks with Mr. Combs on one meeting, and then a financial advisor on the other meeting on Mr. Combs' behalf. And he stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now, and he wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away. And he stated that he's going to be selling his property, and under the 2005 California Civil Code 2881-2885, the creation of liens, which allows out-of-state justices and orders to cause a stop of any title transfer, property transfers in Los Angeles or any other place that he has property. He stated that he wouldn't be able to proceed with that sale. And he did it the day after I served him the suit. And he also said that he won't be filing an answer to the complaint. He said, you can find me in default or whatever. He has a better chance with default than he would with having a restraining order stopped. And I said, so you want to hide your money and stop from being quite possibly paid to me if I'm given the benefit of a judgment in my favor.
Outside the courtroom's walls, a different kind of trial begins. One that moves faster, strikes harder, and rarely offers second chances. Allies quietly create distance, business deals dissolve without announcement, endorsements fade, and phone calls stop being returned. The once unshakable image of being untouchable disappears, leaving behind a man facing the realization that the story he has told the world for decades is no longer the one people believe. This was more than a difficult day in court, it was the kind of moment that changes everything. The usual rules no longer applied, and the alliances that once seemed unbreakable began to unravel. Every unanswered question became a headline, and each headline brought heavier scrutiny. In that moment, it wasn't just a flash of anger that broke through. It was the loss of control over the narrative, a loss that in cases like this is nearly impossible to reclaim. What happens next is what everyone now waits for, because if this was only the first wave, if the prosecution's hints are even partially true, the full picture could have serious consequences, not only for two influential figures, but for an industry that has long shielded them. The courtroom doors will open again, cameras will be ready, and the world will be watching for whatever is pulled from the shadows into the light.